Hi, hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Ravi Kumar, and we are going to learn about VBA. It starts with a macro. What is a macro? A macro is a piece of code. Some people call it as a program, some people call it as a procedure, and some call it as a subroutine. And these macros are generally written in an editor, and that editor is named as a VBA. And this VBA is available in our Microsoft products like Excel, Word, PowerPoint, etc. So we have three types. Should be aware of VBA, VB, and VBS. VBA is Visual Basic for Application. VB means Visual Basics, and VBS means Visual Basic Scripting. A VB is a standalone program that runs independently. It does not have to depend on any other application. And VBA is a part of Excel program and cannot work alone. So it is also a desktop based. And VBS is internet up based on internet applications, and it's also a scripting language. Why macros? In Excel, we have many options. We have lot of options, OTB options, OTB functionality, which is out of the box functionalities in Excel. We have a lot of tabs, options, etc. etc. We complete our task using all these options, but sometimes we need other options which are not available, and we feel like this option should, if this option is available, we would have done this task earlier. So that kind of options can be created using a macro. So it actually reduces our work for doing repetitive tasks. And if you want to create a new formulas, it helps to create a formulas. We go to our macro and write our default formula, and that applies to our current sheet. And also complex task, we generally have complex data in our Excel sheets, and this complex data can be analyzed and can be optimized with some of our own operations which we run using macros. Simply it makes life easier. And what about macros? So macros are based on object oriented programming, and everything we see in Excel are an object. A workbook is an object, sheet is an object, cell is an object, chat is an object. So if you want to perform some action on cell, you should be accessing its parent first, and then you should be accessing the cells. Object model for Excel. This is how the model is present in our Excel. First we have to access applications, and then under it we get workbook as a child, and worksheet as a child for workbook, and then these range, charts, controls, and shapes comes as children under workbook. Every individual is an object, but if you want to access charts object, but first we have to access the worksheet object. So this is how that hierarchy is having. So let's see some of these options: menu bar, toolbars, property windows, and etc. All this in real time on Excel. So as you can see here on the top of the menu bar, we have a developer option here, and under developer option we have a Visual Basic. And this developer option is generally not available every time. We have to access the developer option by going to options, and you say this customize ribbon, right? Under customize ribbon we have this developer. So initially it will be in uncheck. If you want to have this developer option on your Excel, you have to check this and then press OK. Then you will see a developer option here. So we are talking about Visual Basics. Let's open the Visual Basic. So what we see here, we see a menu bar which having file, editor, view, insert, format, debug, etc. And also below that we see toolbars. These are known as toolbars. We see different types of tools, right? Like Excels and save buttons and run buttons, all this. So that's how we call them as a toolbars. Under it we have a VBA project, So this VBA project is having a default parameters like default is tree structure, this workbook, that means which is this workbook, and under this workbook we have a sheet, and the sheet name is sheet 1. So this is the sheet 1. When we rename the sheet, let's rename the sheet to test subject. What happens on macro? See, we have the test subject here. So the current VB application is running based on our current workbook, right? So we have a menu bars, we have toolbars, and we have a project here, and under the project we have a sheet and this workbook, and we also have other options like let me enlarge this. Other options like immediate. Immediate will give us a response on our typing here. Whatever we ask, it will give us a response. We'll talk about this in later classes. We can also insert user forms. User forms are basically like a UI kind of thing where you can give a text or tool, radio buttons or check buttons, whatever it is, based on the requirement. So we also talk about this user forms in following up classes. I'll just show that options what we have currently under project. So we can also add a module. So generally this is a where we have to do our code, and the coding part, the script, whatever the code part is shown on this under the modules. And we also have a classes option here. We can insert those classes. And also if you go to this view, and if you see this property window, we have this property window here. Under the VBA project, any object you select, the corresponding attributes and its properties will display under this property window. So for sheet, it is different properties. You see this display page breaks and all this. These are properties of the sheet. As you can see, the test sub which we given earlier and came under the property sheet. And we have the user forms, and user form length, width, and every property of this user form we have seen earlier comes under this property window. Same like classes and modules in further what we implement and under this will come under this properties, all these properties. And also I would like to show this object browser. So this object browser is nothing but during the coding, when we access an object and we want to perform some actions on it, so we should be aware of what that object is capable of. Let's take this border as an example. If you see this color of a border and the parent of the border and the line style of the border, all these are the members of border. So when we want to manipulate something about border, we have to take the object of border, and then these are the members to manipulate the border. So these are the developer options. You can get the developer options using Alt F11. Open the developer options using Alt F11, and we've seen the menu bars, toolbars, property windows, all this things in our real time. In next class, we will be learning more about macros, how to record a macro, save a macro, and write a macro. Thank you, guys. See you.